Over the past few episodes, we've been building out Fewladelphia's Barille district, adding housing, factories, schools, a rail yard, and recreation. But there's a few things missing. Barille has been a district of restoration, taking a once-old factory town and turning it into an up-and-coming, vibrant community. So to support that story, today we'll be expanding, adding in a huge park, a massive marina, and to top it all off, some of the biggest and best houses in the city. Let's dive in. Alright, so we're back in Barille and we still have this big glaring empty green space over here to work with. So this is what we're doing today. We're going to be starting off with this really interesting high street where we got the train, very nicely timed, going right over the top of it. This was taking direct inspiration from the area in Philadelphia that we've been looking at previously. So we're going to kind of continue the theme of the style of Barille that we have down here coming up this road on this side. And then later in the episode, we've also got this hillside to deal with around our elementary school, which we plopped absolutely ages ago. And this is really steep terrain. So we're going to be doing some fun stuff with static ploppables to make some really interesting hillside single family homes out here. And we also have this coastline to work with as well. So I'm thinking a little bit of fishing, potentially, some marina action. If we get some wealthier homes in here, then definitely this would be a great place for a marina. They could sail their boats out around the castle and out into the wider bay of Fewladelphia, which would be a marvellous journey, really, wouldn't it? So anyway, let's kick off with the high street over here. And there's a couple of buildings that I absolutely want to add into this space. Now, Jay Stokes, who is a long-time standing Patreon and YouTube member, mentioned that he started off his career as an antiques dealer and that he thought that building would fit really well into Barille, and he's absolutely spot on with that. And it's really well timed as well, because of course we have our paper factory here. We've already started that supply chain as part of the Supply Chains DLC with the parcel board factory. So I absolutely think that we can go ahead and get in our interior design studio and the antique store. So the interior design studio is office based, a signature building here, and these assets, as I've said before, are just absolutely stunning. Bad idea, smash this pack, there is no doubt about that. And this also fits really nicely onto this corner, so it works pretty well from us in that respect. But we're just going to have to be careful of terrain edges and that sort of thing, so the closer we can bring it up to the pavement edge is probably the better here, so we avoid some of those lumpy bumpies. But this side is going to be a bit more difficult to work with. Now, having said that, if we just drop that down a little bit, that's not too bad, but then we do get a bit of a drop off at the front that we're probably going to, I mean, that door's half cut off, so that may not necessarily do there. The other thing is that we could do is draw it back, but then we get this really slopey pavement down to them, which I'm not so keen on. So it's going to be a bit of tweaking when we come to the detailing here to find the right balance between height against that road and against this road. So we've got a road sloping up and a road sloping down, but we'll come back to that. So yeah, we definitely want to get in this interior design studio, but then of course also the antique store, which goes along really nicely with it. So that's a commercial signature building here, and both of these are just spot on for the style of Barille. Like all these other assets that we have going around here, very, very similar kind of style and exactly what we want up this high street as well. And if you're thinking about picking up the Supply Chains pack, why not check out today's video sponsor, which is Instant Gaming. If you're really into gaming like me and you want to check out the latest titles but don't want to fork out mega bucks every time you do, or you're just looking for a cozy new game to try out, then why not check out Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming offers massive discounts on a whole host of games, including all of the Cities Skylines DLCs, the entire Sims shebang, Planet Zoo and all of its corresponding DLCs, as well as many, many, many more. If you use the link in the description of this video, it also helps to support the channel, which is of course greatly appreciated, so go ahead and bag yourself a deal. Now, in honour of Jay Stokes, I am going to call it Jay Stokes Antique Store. Thank you very much for putting this idea in my head, Jay Stokes. You're absolutely spot on with the theming of it, and yeah, we've now got Jay Stokes Antique Store in Fewladelphia. So with both of these assets, there's a lot of detailing to do just to fit these up to the roads around them. I'm thinking probably some kind of yard out the back here. We've also got a tram stop at this point that we do need to be conscious of and work with. But I think the rest of this street, we are just going to fill in with a bit more mixed use like this, some row housing like this, very much along the same theming that we've got along the rest of the high street here. Now I kind of call it the high street, but I don't want that much commercial. So we've got this bit of a block of commercial here around the fire station, but most of the commercial in Barille is actually up here near the train station. So we've got this sort of almost department store type building over here. We've got a row of shops along this side. And then obviously we've got some larger out-of-town commercial outlets along the top. So most of this I do want to be housing, but we'll concentrate some of the mixed-use buildings up close next to our antique store and our interior design studio there, and then filter out to housing the further we go back. Okay, now the other thing I'm noticing here is now that we've added the bike superhighway to this road, these pillars take up the entire pavement, so people are just walking through them. I think they probably walk through them regardless anyway, but I don't like it logistically. We need wider pavements. We're going to have these support pillars like this over the road here. And I also think it would help traffic if we take the bike lanes off this road and divert them round the coast essentially. So we could bring them off the main high street here, take them off round this smaller road, and then they connect on here anyway. So it's just really this strip where we're going to be removing them. Now, I don't know about the bikes in Fewladelphia. I feel like they're more trouble than they're worth, to be completely honest. So we may be doing a huge bike removal overhaul in the not too distant future, but we'll see about that. Now here, have we got a bus stop? Is this why this is pulling this out? I need to... Oh, we've got extra lanes. So not only did we have bike lanes, we also had extra lanes at that point. Right. So yeah, all in all, it does just mean this is becoming quite a narrow road. There is actually, even with the extra lanes, there is a tiny bit of pavement now for people to be able to move around the pillars. And I could, of course, move them over a little bit. Like here, this is too much. We can definitely adjust that house back at least with the stairs. They're going to walk through it regardless, so maybe it is something we overlook. But yeah, there is a spot of space for them to walk past. We're going for absolute realism there. We've still got a bunch of bikes on this road, but hopefully that'll clear after the pathfinding resets itself a little bit. And we could potentially even ban bikes if it still remains a problem. We'll take them off this road entirely. We have got people using it now. You can just see how many there are. It's ridiculous. They need to fix it. So yeah, we've got these houses in. We need a whole bunch of detailing in around this. I'm not going to spend too long on the row housing. We're going to do things like the alleyways and tidy up in the centre in between houses and the street corners and that sort of thing. But frankly, I'm going to leave a lot of that because I think when it comes to detailing certain areas of your city, when these houses are so packed in, there's not a huge amount that you need to do to make the bigger picture at least look realistic. If you focus on the sight lines that people are going to see, like the street corners and that sort of thing, then that's enough, and we don't really need to go through and customise each and every single one of these row houses along here. We'll definitely do detailing to fill in these spots. We'll also do a little back alley delivery area / maybe a bit of parking in the back there. And then the other thing that I do want to do on this road, because I think we're not going to put houses on the rest of this, but we will build up around these roads here. But I would like to provide pedestrian access from this tram stop down here up towards the school so they're not having to walk around that long road. So I think the way we're going to do that is we're going to add in a path and then use some of the amazing oh, you can see them already here. The amazing Harbour Master J's stair pack. And yes, I got a little bit carried away with that. But we have some staircase then. We've got an invisible path underneath and it is functioning. I saw one person coming down. However, I realised it's 1 AM in the morning. This is an elementary school, so I'm kind of guessing there's not that much traffic to it at this time. But there is a lady up there now. And of course she's going to walk in the other direction, so I'll try and get a shot later on of people actually using it. But it is functional. They sink in a tiny bit, but it's actually not too bad. Now around it, I just want to shout out a few amazing asset creators. So we've got Padelmo's grass here. We have grass in the game. This is like amazing. Just absolutely amazing. What a difference that makes to something like this. Okay, this maybe isn't the most appropriate place for it, but wow. I'm going to be using a hell of a lot of that grass, I can safely say that. And we've also got these awesome dry stone walls by Harbour Master J. Absolutely incredible. Now again, I don't think this is probably the intended function of them. However, it works really nicely for covering up those awkward things under the stairs and around our cube that we've got there. It also adds a bit of fencing, a bit of a safety break for the people at the top of the stairs here. And then we've used a French wall as a bit of a retaining wall and some boulders and some sunken down trees. I've maybe playing a little bit too much Planet Zoo. This is the type of thing I do there. But anyway, I think it works quite nicely in Cities Skylines. And I've also, having done this, noticed that this is quite a spectacular viewpoint. And one that will be preserved, because I don't think we've really got much building space in between it. Okay, there is a little bit, so we want to make sure we haven't got anything too tall in there to break that view, because that's pretty awesome up this street, actually. With the trams running, the odd bicycle here or there, and the cathedral in the background. Yes. So we've got quite a lot of tidying up to do of this block here. I have also just extended it out up there. Now I was looking at the wider picture of Barille here, and you can kind of see where we've got these row housings coming out. My plan for this is to have some really fancy mountainside single family homes up here. Some pretty luxurious ones, because I think they've got quite a spectacular view down onto Fisher's Point, if we take away all the warning icons. But it does kind of look a little bit unnatural if we just break here and have single family homes. So I think this block should also be a continuation of some more of the row housing and that style of building, a little bit more packed in. We'll obviously come down to some Marina waterfront action down here, which we'll come back to a little bit later on. But yeah, I think this section at least should be a bit of row housing around here, and then we can come on to the single family homes around the hillside this side. And then that won't stand out like too much of a sore thumb. So I'm going to go and just do a little bit of tidying up around this area, like I mentioned, some of these odd spaces and the corners, and making sure the centre makes a bit more sense. We'll get this row housing in, and then we'll crack on with the single family homes. there you go. As you can see, it's functional. In fact, we've got loads of kids now walking up because it is the start of school time. So there's a little bit of floating going on. But you know what? The bottom step is pretty good, I think. And then the top step, I could probably use a bit of adjusting with the invisible part. But the effect is there. I'm so pleased with that. Again, huge shout out to Harbour Master J for creating the stairs and also these rock wall assets here as well. So these are kind of packaged as dry stone walls, so you can find those on the workshop as well. Amazing. So yeah, that's our stairs up to our school in, and I did just continue along this theme of sort of rocks and undergrowth, a little bit of grass spread around here with a nice brick wall around it, which I think sits the school in quite nicely up here. Obviously we've got a big glaring space there, which we're coming on to in just a second. Then just added a couple of condos around here, a little bit of surface work around it and some car parking, but not much to say about that really. Squeezed in a trimmed down playground on the corner over here next to these row houses. But again, not much here, just some trees to fill in some of the awkward terrain around it, but it sits in pretty nicely there. And then we've just done a bit of back alley detailing along here. Oh, I did add in a nice tram stop, of course, to make that a bit of a feature. It's a pretty busy one, this one actually, so definitely worth having the shelters and the benches and that sort of thing around. Then as we go down, we've just got a few little back alleys filled in. Another little side alley down here with a spot of invisible parking along the side, and yeah, that was pretty much it. We just tidied up some of the corners and the fencing around the place and squeezed in some trees to cover up some of the nasties, which is always a good option for a speedy bit of detailing, which looks really nice from a zoomed out point of view. Alright, so let's talk about this space. And yes, I definitely think this is pride of place for some single family homes. Okay, so they've got some dirty industry over there and Havenwood Forest, but they've got views out to the castle, all across the old capital of Fisher's Point and up to the cathedral as well. So this is a real prime real estate spot, I think, on the sides of the cliffs here. And in general, I'd like to think Barille is a sort of up-and-coming area, like it was once a very heavy industrial town, but it's slowly being sort of rejuvenated with the addition of the trams and things around it. So I think some larger single-family homes would be good. And we've got some horrendous terrain to work with, so what I would like to do for this is utilise static poppables to create some proper hillside housing, so housing which is going to sort of trail down the mountainside, most of which will probably have some pools on it and that sort of thing. So yeah, we're going to use static poppables because it doesn't push the terrain down, it doesn't move the terrain when you place them. So we can layer in a few of these to create each house pretty nicely. And then we'll use some of the block services to put in some actual residential into them so they're fully functional when it comes to the end of it. Now, I'm not going to do all of this live because frankly, it's all about trying to pick the right assets and it can be pretty fiddly to try and get them together. But also we're going to be left with some pretty horrendous terrain at the end of it, I'll be honest. So there's going to be a lot of hiding things with trees and tidying up areas where we can. But this asset in particular, I'm going to ignore the front, but the bottom of it makes such a nice kind of patio with a pool. So what I want to do here is find another asset that we can almost place on top of it to act as the entrance building with the garage maybe. So recolouring, we can recolour these, so that's not a problem. We just want to find something that's a relatively similar style. I actually quite like that, I think, as an entrance house, so I'm just going to plop that down there as a bit of a reminder. So what I'm really looking for is probably a building which has that similar plaster wall, so it doesn't look too disjointed. And this is actually not too much of a bad shout here. Now it's quite long, so the shape of it's going to be a little bit awkward to piece together. But the general idea is, yeah, we'd have this as the entranceway with the driveway at the top, and we'll sort out the terrain for that in the second. And then we're going to piece this in underneath as like a second story flowing down the mountainside and very much make it look like it's all part of one asset. So we can recolour the top, for example, or the bottom so that it all coincides really nicely here. So we could have the roof coming down there. I feel like the windows are pretty similar, so it gives a kind of similar vibe. And then, yeah, it's about tidying this up and playing with the terrain a little bit here. So let's start by smoothing this out. So we've got an actual entranceway to work with here. I think the driveway at least is going to be flat, so that's not too bad. And then around the bottom we can do a similar thing. So we just want to try and get the terrain to a reasonable height around it. And we can also, let's turn down the strength here a little bit, play around with the water's edge here. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect like this, like we could bring it out a little bit more so we haven't got such a severe cliff drop off at the end there. But something along those lines. We get these really nice two-tiered mansions, essentially. And then we'll come through with a bunch of trees to hide a lot of the nasties in the terrain and make it really green and lush around these mansions. We also add in some fencing and generally tidy this up in just a second. So if I just come on and do one more by way of example here. Again, what we want to do for this is try and find an asset which is going to be sort of similar. If it's got a pool, then that would be fantastic as a start point. So this one could potentially work. We've got brick on the upper asset though. So it's not exactly the same and perfect. And this is where, I'm not going to do this whole thing live because a lot of faffing around does come into this. And there's this one which could potentially work. It's a brick building. The windows are slightly different, but I don't mind that too much. You can get the sense that things have been added over time. And so with this, we're probably going to play around with the placement around this balcony area. If we add some fencing into that, I think that will look pretty cool. And then again, some lush green trees around to hide some of the rest of it. It could look pretty nice. This is quite high up, so this is going to form a really, really steep cliff. So I think maybe with this asset, we want to draw it a little bit further down here. Or we could start adding in a third layer potentially for it as well. That's the other option that we do have here. If we bring it down a little bit, that'll be quite nice. We also want to play with the angles too, so everything isn't perfectly square to that road and we can get some longer driveways and that sort of thing in. So anyway, that's the general idea. So I'm going to go ahead and place, so we'll probably get 4, maybe 5 of these, I think, into this section. And then we'll have some smaller, more regular single family homes, I think, running up the top of the hill here. We'll just have these mansions on this side where they've got that awesome view across the bay and up to the cathedral there. Alright, so I'm kind of pleased with how this has come out. Now we've matched colours, we've added a spot of detailing. I think they're sitting in quite nicely. So this is obviously a bit of a luxury road here, and we do have a majorly busy bicycle path. going right past it. At least the trams don't though, so that's one thing, but maybe, like I said previously, we need to rethink the bike lanes here. It's very busy. But at least there's not very much car traffic, so it'll be nice and quiet, hopefully. So yeah, just up here I did add in what I have called Oak Row, because we've got these lovely oak trees blocking the view from the road. But it is just a series of reasonably nice single family homes here, all a bit different. A big kind of mansion on the end here, one of the waterfront assets from North America, I think it is. But I've just set them back off the road to keep them away from the noisy row housing over the other side, so it feels like a bit more of a private development and some nicer housing overlooking the big bay here. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. And then we come on to the mansions. So I've done a bit of landscaping out the front, added in some driveways. We've got static poppable residential in each of these, and there are people actually living in them. But obviously it's a single family in each of them, so there's not exactly a lot going on the actual street. Really like this one where we got the driveway coming all the way down into the house here. And yeah, like I said, we've just covered up a lot of the nasties with a lot of greenery around it, but I think it sits in pretty nicely. This one, I feel like you'd never guess that was 2 houses in one. Really like the colour change on this as well, actually. Realised I'd put in a plaster and a brick asset, so they didn't quite match, but actually I think it goes together pretty nicely in the end. And then yeah, we do have this one where I have used some of Mayor Want's floating dock pack assets here to add in just a little private dock, because they were so close to the water's edge, I thought, why not? So we have got that in quite nicely there, and that's a real a real mansion, isn't it? I just love the fact there's so many different balconies and levels on this one. It's yeah, literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different levels of balconies here. Pretty crazy. And then they've obviously got a nice big driveway with a gate out the front. And yeah, very pleased with how these sit in. So that brings us on to the final part of today's build, which still looks like a massive area, but part of it is going to be very easy. So this hillside around the elementary school here, I'm thinking all of this side we're going to turn into a big open park area. So I'll probably line the road with a few trees and a wall or a hedge or something like that around it, and then just add in some nice pathing trails. But keep most of it actually as green grass and very open up towards the school, so we kind of maintain that view of the school and maintain the prominence around it, and have a big open grassy bank that people can come and enjoy the views out over to Fisher's Point, or the regular people who don't live in the mansions. So that's one thing that I'll do in the final time lapse of today. It feels like we've done a lot already, but the main thing I want to do next is add in a marina down here. Now I feel like this is really appropriate for Barille. Obviously the space that we're in, perfect area to have some leisurely yachting or sailing around here. We've got another rival marina already over in that space at the bottom of Fisher's Point there. And with our big rich mansions in, I feel like, you know, the ones that don't have their own private pontoon, maybe a nice marina would be good for this. So yeah, I think it's a great location for it. We also have this old rail line coming in down here. Now this bank here is still yet to be done, and we will be doing that on a stream along with finishing off the area that we started on the last stream down there, and that'll be happening very, very soon. But I think with the old rail line coming in, it would lend itself to having once been maybe a commercial fishing area, and now it's become a private area, a luxury private yacht club, shall we say. So the first thing that I do want to do is do a touch of landscaping and get in the quay all the way around it, because that's going to be an important framing for us to frame this whole boatyard marina around. So what I'm thinking is that the actual marinas itself will stick out into the river here, kind of around this side, and then a little bit more around this side. So I want the quay to pretty much run round almost a 90-degree angle, I'd say, maybe slightly off just to make it a little bit more interesting. And we've actually found the perfect edge within the map there, so I'd probably quite like to keep that going, but I think what we will do is bend this round a little bit in the centre here, and then we can pull this back a touch so it's a little bit narrower at this point. So something like that's not too bad. It looks like the bank is quite steep at the moment though, so once we get the keys in we'll be able to adjust that. So I'm thinking we're going to use the narrow key with the deep rib pattern. Looks nice and heavy and industrial that way, and I'm going to leave a gap here because we're definitely going to do a boat ramp down into the water at that point, so we'll leave that for the moment, and we can just follow this round. And use a hell of a lot of move it to tidy this up. Alright, that's better, and we've got it nice and low to the water here. because the big thing that I do want to avoid is any like massive jump downs onto the actual docks themselves. And then I'm thinking the marina entrance could come out of this junction here. So we're going to use alleyway roads for this because I feel like that definitely makes the most sense. And what I am going to do is kind of loop the road around. So we've got a little bit of a boatyard here, definitely because we've got the slip lane area there as well. We'll loop it around this way, have a kind of car park in the middle, have a clubhouse, a bar right next to the main car park here, overlooking part of the marina. And then we'll have more boatyards, etc. around the back of it. So I'm thinking if we bring this in at an angle, it's going to allow a little bit more space around this side for the boat slip yard and that sort of thing. So let's bring it down like this. And then we'll turn off snapping, so we've got a little bit more freedom here. And what I do want to do is try and run this road as close up to the quay as we possibly can, so it flows round nicely like this. We'll just run it up to there for now, and then move it just to drag it right up next to it. So we're closing that gap, which will help later in terms of detailing as well. I'll probably end up covering up a lot of this with surfaces, but that gives us a framework to work from. So the first thing I do want to get in is the bar, and I'd really like to use the Mermaid's Tea Lounge from the Leisure Venues Content Creator Pack. This is such an awesome asset, and yes, it's going to need some changing up around it, definitely. Like, this rock garden and stuff is not going to suit the vibe that we want in our marina and all these pretty plants. But it's got this awesome little lounge balcony area out the front, which is going to face onto the marina, out to Fisher's Point, up to the cathedral, etc. out that side. So I think it's going to lend itself pretty nicely. And it's also got a slightly older style, which I think is kind of fitting with Barille, particularly with the red roof as well. Now we can also add to this, so I think I'm going to add in a static ploppable version of it next to it. So the first one's functioning. This one is not, but what it will do is just extend that out so we get this much bigger, grander boathouse here, which, yeah, I really, really, really like that. And then we'll need to do a lot of better bulldozer and tidying up around the back to get rid of all of that kind of too fancy stuff out there. And then we can bring in the car park next to it here. So I'm thinking something along these lines, which gives a nice little bit of parking. We've also got a big gap in here as well for boat storage, because when I was looking at Google Earth, marinas are generally quite chaotic. Like, they have car parking areas, but there's usually a few of them sort of dispersed throughout the complex and just kind of boats everywhere, to be honest. So I think that's what we're going to go for here. Now, the other thing I would like to do is try and squeeze in some boat sheds of sorts. So I was thinking probably a static ploppable industrial building for this, and I might actually go for a similar one that we used for the train yard, which I think was the grain storage, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this one. I quite like this shed, and it's sort of reminiscent of some of the sheds that I've seen on Google Earth when looking around these marinas. So I think what we're probably going to do is have two of these over here, next to where the boat ramp is going to be. But yeah, I really like those sheds, and I would like to squeeze in one more here, but they are quite big. But the other ones I do quite like are these fishing sheds. I think they work particularly well. So we could change up the road layout here to get one of these in the back at this point, and I really don't like those colours, so let's lighten this up. Then we'll fix the road. So that gives us a framework for the building of the actual boatyard. Now, all of these individual spaces, we're going to put surfaces in, we're going to fill in with boat props. Now, I want to shout out this amazing boating package by ItsCon because it's awesome. You get a variety of different static boats and floating boats, which are a hell of a lot smaller. So if I just show you the boats that come with the game, we've got this sailing boat here, which takes up this entire space. We have a look at ItsCon's package. We've got sailing boats, which are much more appropriately sized in floating variants and static variants, as mentioned. So I love these, and it means we can really pack them into our marina without it looking silly. So yeah, massive shout out to you. Also comes with these awesome little trailer pops as well. We're going to be utilising some of those. I think the one thing I am missing when we come to the detailing is the boat racks. Like, I'd love to have a big long row of boat racks out there, but I couldn't find any as of yet. But the one other thing I would quite like to do here is use some of Harbour Master Jay's boat props here. Like, we've got this yacht on a stand, which I think would mark the entrance to the marina really, really nicely at this point. And living near the coast myself and near a hell of a lot of marinas, I see this all the time. Like, there's always a massive multi-million-pound yacht on show right at the entrance to the marina. Makes us all feel incredibly unworthy. So I think that's what we're going to do here, but I'll probably want to do a bit of landscaping around there before I prop it in. So more of that to come with the detailing. And we've got people parking in there, which is great to see. But the next thing we do want to talk about is obviously the marinas themselves. Now, I am going to use a combination of Mayor Want's floating dock package, which is what we used for the luxury mansion down here, which has these amazing floating docks. I think most of it is probably going to be this. We've also got these gangway walkways to connect them all up. Absolutely perfect, spot on. But the other thing I would quite like to use, which I think is from Mayor Want as well, is this wooden pier package. And yes, it is. And these are really, really cool. So they're not floating, they will be static in the water. So I may use a few of these in various different locations. Like, I love the wood effect of it. That feels highly realistic to me. But I think the floating docks are going to be what we probably want for here, to have a load of stuff jiggling around in the water and filling that all out. So that is largely the plan. Now, that's going to take a lot of line tool work, a lot of fiddling around to get our boats and our marinas in. So I'm going to do that as part of the final time lapse, which is coming right up in a second. And of course, we'll also do this park up here, which, like I said, is going to be pretty basic. But before we jump into that time lapse, I do want to shout out January's community challenge winner over on Discord, which was Mando, Crispy Chicken Mando, who has just started a YouTube channel on Planet Zoo and won with this awesome sunrise shot overlooking Desert Valley with the ram. Really atmospheric. Love this one. If you want to join in next month's community challenge, it's all about micro detailing, so head on over to the Discord to find out how you could be in with a chance of winning a game of your choice. Barille has got to be turning into one of my favourite districts in the city. I realise I do always say that. We said it about Gaudy Bay, Atkinson, Fisher's Point, and now Barille. But there's a certain something about a marina that makes me very happy, especially when it's made with absolutely incredible assets. Yes, 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 yes. I'm so happy we finally got the editor in place and we've got a variety of boats and actual floating pontoons and oh yes, 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 yes. Can't get enough of this. Cannot get enough of this. Thank you to all the amazing asset makers and modders out there. You guys absolutely rock my world. So yeah, let's take a look around. Now this docking, this marina, I mean, genuinely, I think I spent over an hour just putting in all of the pillars individually into each and every little tiny pillar support hole on each of the on each of the docks. Absolutely mad, but it looks so good. Like I love it. It's so realistic. You can imagine the boats tying up to these, and obviously supporting those floating docks, making sure they're not going to float out to sea. I love it. I love it. So happy with these. And yeah, it was a huge faff to get all of this in and just painstaking time spent, to be honest, plopping all of these boats individually. But I love the effect of it. We've got such a nice variety in here. And I think it just works really, really well on this coastline. Like, we look out this way as well. Now we've got all these boats in the water, just the activity, even though they're not moving. Yes, okay. But just to have that busyness, I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. So yeah, anyway. Now there is a few things that I did off camera because I realised afterwards I hadn't added any kind of grunge around our boatyard, and you would definitely expect certainly some moss and sort of damp marks around a boatyard such as this. So we've got the nice moss effect on the roof. Love that. Tiny bit of graffiti around the back in that little hidden corner there. And then yeah, of course, all of our amazing boats props. Again, shout out to ItsCon for that awesome boating pack. And again, slightly painful getting all of these boats to actually sit on top of the trailers correctly. I think there's some of them that I've forgotten. Yeah, I can I can see one already that I have forgotten to raise up or not done it correctly at least. But super pleased with this. I feel like as well the layout, it looks quite nice and busy. I mean, obviously let me know what you think in the comments below. I don't own a yacht. I did do quite a bit of sailing when I was younger, so I have been to marinas and like I said, I live near a lot, but it's not like I frequent them frequently, so hopefully I've captured the right sort of vibe with this at least. We've got a few puddle stains and things around, obviously, a bit of water, a little bit of wear and tear here and there. And then on our giant show motor yacht over here, what I did do was add in this little sales building. So we've got a container, which you can imagine contains the flyers, whatever. Got some boards of information and yeah, another one there in front of it, and then some tables where you can talk to your sales rep about how you're going to finance such a awesome boat such as this. But I thought that was kind of like a quirky little touch to add in there. I did also add in this office building here as well, just to act as a kind of head office central point for people to come to find out how they can get a mooring here, or indeed buy a massive motor yacht potentially. So yeah, there we go. Really love the boat ramp here as well, just using some of the concrete slabs to create the ramp itself. We've got some of Harbour Master J's scaffolding pack in here as well, actually, which I thought worked quite well. I didn't really have the right kind of boat crane prop that I wanted. Like, you see a lot of them actually arching over the actual boat ramp to lower boats in and out, so it's not perfect, but I like the effect of it in game at least. Like, it feels like a boat ramp to someone who doesn't boat. Yeah, just a little bit of staining around these boat buildings, these boat sheds around here. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Quite like the car park as well with the broken fence design here. Just adds access points for people to walk freely around the boatyard. Like, maybe could have done with a bit of more clutter around the front and less of this road. But in general, I'm pretty happy with that and I think it sits in well. And then we got our park area over here. I mean, really, honestly, not that much to talk about here. I'm yet to see anyone walk through it as well, which is slightly disappointing. I think oh, hello. No, we have got a person. We have got a person. Are they just going to cut through back onto the Yes, they are. So they're not going to actually walk across our park. But no. Oh, no. I say that again. We have got one more person here. Just strolling down the hillside. Wonderful. Love it. I was about to say maybe we should add in some of the block service parks to kind of give it a bit of an attractiveness boost. But maybe we don't need to. But I really like this spot of greenery actually on this corner of Barille. We do need to ignore this waterfront here. We will come in and finish that off on the next stream, as we have started down the other end as well. But yeah, I think it sits in pretty nicely with the school, having this open green side to it. And just obviously, I think utilising these amazing views down over Fisher's Point was a key point of that I wanted to achieve. But also as well, having a quiet space for these mansions. Like, this should be a relatively quiet road. Once we do indeed, now between me recording earlier in the episode and now, the information has gone public about the patch which will decrease bike traffic by 80%. So let's see how that affects Fewladelphia, but I'm hoping that makes this road much, much quieter and more suitable for these mansions. I know this one is right next to a boatyard, but it's not like it's an industrial fishing boatyard, so I think that's okay. And they have a boat themselves, so they like boating. Maybe they'll put up with the noise. So yes, that is this section of Barille complete, and that leaves us with one small section over here to finish off in the next episode, and then it is on to downtown. I do keep teasing it. I'm sorry, but it will happen. It is coming. Our next episode is episode 50 of Fewladelphia as well. I think that's definitely a record, getting to episode 50 with no downtown in the city. So a lot to look forward to. But for today, that is going to be it. If you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares are really greatly appreciated. Get some name suggestions in for our marina and our park as well. I'd love to give that a kind of quirky name. So let me know what you think about that. But that's all from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye!